All right, we're ready to go.
All right, fantastic. It's 10:02. We will probably have some others joining us as we go, but we're recording so they can catch up later. I want to respect everybody's time. We'll try to keep this within an hour. It is Thursday, September 10th. This is our FIO block producer and block producer candidate board meeting. So happy for you guys all to make it. I think I'll just hand it off to you, Eric, for the first part of the agenda you outlined, which is going to be to talk about the status of the V2 upgrade and the next steps. API discoverability, security, and reliability, which is a really big, important topic, which we probably will not be able to fully dissect within this call. Let's try to time box that maybe to 20, 30 minutes or so, but it's a really important conversation. It's fundamental to everything we do as a protocol, being able to provide data securely to wallets that aren't running a full node. So that'd be a great discussion to have. I see Roman from CryptoLines added a couple points about FIP5 and FIP8. Want to get a status update on that. And those are really technically challenging and a big deal. So those are good to talk through. And then in addition, I'd like to spend maybe 10, 15 minutes just walking through the Atlassian tools that we have. I've been thinking about if there's a value of creating a space in there for the block producers, for example. So I'll show you kind of everything we're doing in the different departments and how we might want to utilize that technology for us. I appreciate those that already jumped in and started commenting on some of the initiatives. Really appreciate that. So Eric, why don't you go ahead and hit it off, and then hopefully we'll have time at the end for just open discussion as well.
Yeah, sure. Mine's just real quick. So this is regarding what we've called the Gemini release, or it's this release that allows us to get around the issues we were having when we had to actually deploy new chain code for every feature update. So this is that whitelisting. We're creating this add actions call, and we're putting actions, moving it out of the chain code and into the state. So we are in milestone, I think 3, where we rolled out that actual MSIG, whitelisting MSIG. So thanks for the quick approval on all that. We'll stick to probably the deadline of September 11th and execute that. So execute that one tomorrow. So that's not the forking transaction. The forking transaction where if you haven't upgraded yet to the 2.0 on the chain code, you will start to get forked is going to be next week when we actually add the actions to the table. You guys are all familiar with that from the testnet. So that'll happen next week. And then that actual date in the code is the following week. So we left ourselves some leeway there. We really need to get this through so we can actually start deploying some new features here, like transfer domain and a lot of things that are getting asked for. That comes next. So we will be pushing stuff out into testnet. If all goes as well, knock on wood, with this release, we'll be starting to do a regular cadence of releases into testnet and mainnet for features, which will be nice. It's been a long drought here that we all recognize. So, but that's it. So over the next 3 weeks, those kind of 2 more deadlines, and then we're there. So looking forward to it.
I think it's probably a good time to pause and just kind of make sure everybody's up to speed. Also, too, just real quick for the recording, Eric, are you in the speaker view or the grid view? Always good to kind of like show everyone's faces. I want to make sure anyone watching the video knows who's all participating. It's always helpful.
I'm probably in speaker view right now. Is that what?
If you just do the top right, it's where it shows kind of all the grid.
Yeah.
Yep.
There we go.
Thanks. And so, yeah, I just want to make sure everyone's up to speed on that. I know I think everybody's understanding, kind of Eric's been repeating it again and again, but I just want to make sure we're all clear as far as the various steps and the various deadlines. You know, there was even a little confusion internally within our team as far as like, okay, we've got this hard deadline in the code, which is September 23rd. We've got this kind of MSIG action that's actually kind of a hard forking action prior to that. And then basically after the 23rd, we're going to be rolling out other features that we feel are well tested. We're going to get those up on testnet as well to test them there. With the hope that, you know, domain transfers kind of like FIP1A and a bunch of other FIPs are going to be available, you know, after that date on the 23rd and after we're comfortable with it on testnet. But I just want to make sure kind of that whole process of this V2 Gemini rollout, we're all clear on. There are no stupid questions, only the questions you don't ask. So please feel free to, I know sometimes with VPs, it's like nobody wants to look stupid because you want to get those votes and be, you know, the awesome guy that everyone loves who knows what the heck's going on. But frankly, I'd rather you ask questions that may be a little bit on the silly side if you feel that it's going to help get everybody up to speed on what's going on. So it's more important to me that we have everyone up to speed than it is for everyone to, you know, look amazing. So feel free to ask your silly questions. Is everyone clear on the rollout and what we're doing?
Yeah.
Excellent. Awesome. I love seeing the thumbs up. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Eric and the DAPX team. You guys have done, I think, a great job on this. You know, it was kind of a curveball when we realized we couldn't roll out changes without hard forks. And I think everyone's responded to it pretty well. So good to see. Cool. And then also too, Eric, do you want to give an update, just kind of like the status update on all the known nodes that we have, kind of exchanges, anyone else? Like to our understanding, everybody's been upgraded already and we're ready to go, right?
Yeah, no, I tracked it in that spreadsheet that we had out there, and pretty much everyone's upgraded that I know of. We'll post out, we have a blog post coming. Get John to post that, and then we can send out links on that one, Luke, just to ensure the wider groups know. But yeah, even in the exchanges, I was able to contact most of the exchanges that listed us without us asking them to list us as well. A lot of them don't have the same the nodes. They're not running their own nodes. So they're just really just getting data. So I think we're all good now. So I'll make sure that we are very clear on next week's deadline, which is that forking deadline. So that'll be the next one. But yeah, no, it looks good. Luckily, we didn't have too many, because I actually did have to contact them individually and kind of nudge them. So.
Fantastic. Yeah. And any input you guys have, any experience you have working on other chains, talking to exchanges, things of that nature, just keeping that up to speed, you know, is definitely helpful. You know, my thought was we're going to, you know, put blog posts out there and try to spread them with our Twitter accounts and stuff. But if you guys can spread them in your social media, or, you know, anyone who's kind of looking to you as their connection to the chain, you know, hopefully you're keeping your community informed as well. Yeah. I think that's it then for that. Do you want to go on to the big topic of API discoverability and security and all that?
Yeah. So how do we want to kick that off? There were also some questions from the group as well. I don't know which order we want to go in. Does everyone want to talk about API?
I'm looking here. I'm looking in the chat. What other questions? I know there was some discussion about monitoring tools and things of that nature. What other questions?
Yeah, Michael was kind of leading that because he's already got his first monitoring view in that he's using for Wax, but he was going to use it for FIO, and he wanted to sync up with you, Eric, and the team to see if there was some kind of synergy that we could work together, or him and your team could work together to make sure that everything is up and running, you know?
Yeah, I was thinking too, and I don't think Todd is on. Todd also created a few tools that I know he posted out there as well, and I think he'd be important in that discussion. But yeah, I don't know if we have kind of a direction of where we're heading, right? It's a little unknown. Like, so the idea is that we do need to make sure. We ran into a few issues with Edge where certain nodes, where it was pulling through and certain nodes were down, or they were actually looking at it with the 443 port, which wasn't working on a few. And so just, we didn't have that probably would have been picked up with proper monitoring tools, right? And it's definitely in your courts to kind of figure that out. But internally, we also felt like as for FIO, itself, that it would be good to have our own monitoring tools. But I don't know, it's open, I think, on how we want to handle that. And I think the more, the better. And we are definitely open to worker proposals to, fund additional coding if that's what makes sense for the group. I don't know, has the group even really come to consensus though on kind of what that would look like, or does everyone maintain their own set of monitoring tools? I didn't know where that ended up.
I know that it came as a bit of a surprise to us that that Wallet was looking for, it was getting for doing a query for the available plugins or services, and that wasn't something that we typically had inside of off the back of our HA proxy. So I think everybody in this actual BP group is actually quite good. That if we had have known that that is what the wallet was actually looking for, we would have totally added that in.
Right.
I think most of our forwarding mechanisms through to the back end is deny by default, and allow, as we know what's required. If we had have known that up front, Luke, you wouldn't have had that issue in that presentation. Maybe we could get to a point where we could understand exactly what these wallets are asking of us, and we could provide it. It's no problem. in the uptime and the speed of our nodes. We all qualified BPs, right? We can do.
Yeah, I think in this
anything.
particular case, it was a combination of things. At first, it was just people reporting errors using Edge. Like, okay, and I was getting all these errors, and people were really frustrated. We're like, okay, is that a problem with Edge? So we have to look at the code, work with the Edge team. Our team has been involved in helping do that integration. So it's kind of like, what's actually the problem? And then as we started looking into it more and more, it looked like, okay, there seemed to be an increase in errors all of a sudden, and we were trying to figure that out too, because we did see these errors before, but they were rare. And that was, I think, mainly just certain nodes just going down, frankly, not being available. And the wallet wasn't handling those errors very well. There wasn't very good logging. So we were starting to make, changes and try to help work with the wallet there. And then I think we eventually came to the understanding that there was a deployment that included ports in the URIs, and that was new. That wasn't there before.
Yeah, that
really was,
yeah.
I think, I think, Todd can comment on this more, but I think that was one of the things we felt was potentially the smoking gun for this increase in issues, because we had the increase in problems, and it was timed based on that. So I think you guys all did a great job scrambling to kind of open up that through your proxies and everything else to make those URIs work with redirects and everything else. And I do think that solved a lot of the problems that we were facing right up front. But yeah, it was really tough. It was like, man, I cannot promote this protocol if I can't get a reliable experience for the user, right? So it was a tough time, and I appreciate you guys letting me vent a little bit and responding as you did to fix it up as quickly as possible. But it did kind of spur on this kind of like, I want to have processes running that simulate what a wallet user would be doing, creating FIO requests, doing token sends, all these kind of things, because I need to know immediately if something's not working correctly. That's publicly out there to say, hey, here's a node you can use, then I definitely want to know about that as soon as possible. So I think we're moving that direction, and I think like having multiple monitoring tools and mainly something I can look at as a foundation to kind of follow up. I think that's where we're at now, which is great.
I suppose it depends which wallet is doing the queries, right? I mean, they might all end up having their own little idiosyncrasies. So we need to find out, maybe they should be testing on our testnet first, and we just ensure that we are providing the same. You know what? Right now, I can tell you that same forwarding isn't happening on our testnet node. I know, because it was me that did the workaround on the mainnet node. I haven't done it on the testnet. So maybe we should test it there and then make sure everything is sort of congruent.
Yeah, that brings up another topic, a project that I had in mind of some type of certification process. There just has to be a way to say, this wallet has been certified for these features of FIO and not these features. And we've tested that, and we're comfortable and confident with that. Because as we roll out new features, multi-sig routing, for example, there are certain features that are going to be pretty advanced that not all wallets will integrate. So I agree, Russ. I think that's something we need to move towards.
I don't think we should be scrambling to constantly update and make workarounds for bugs in client software. I think that's going to go down a very, very bad road. This particular case with the host name, with the port in the host name, I think was a client error. And yeah, sure, we can fix it as a temporary workaround, but I don't think we should be, like, by default, fixing problems with the client.
I agree to a point. Long term, you're right. That's a lot to expect from the block producers. But I also want to clarify that this is a different protocol than other chains. We are basically an industry-led consortia. We're like the back-end service provider for these applications. So we are they're our client essentially. They're the customer. Yeah. And if we're not responding to the customer immediately, but even if they screw up, to make sure that their user's not getting a bad experience, especially in these early days where we only have just a couple full-fledged, fully integrated products. I think if we were the industry standard, and we've got 90% of our wallets are doing great, there's some wallet that's screwing up, absolutely agree with you, Michael. The answer there is get with the program, get on the protocol correctly. But in these early days, when we're trying to pitch this to other wallets and exchanges and convince them to do an integration, and they're using their user experience as a litmus test for whether or not they're going to bother integrating with FIO, critically important in these early days, to make sure that it's.
But that's not something we could ever have predicted.
I know, and that's why there's no blame to it.
Like, so the wallet released these changes which suddenly started putting the host name, the port into the host name, but they didn't do even the most basic checks. So I don't really see that that's our responsibility to make sure that they do basic tests before they update their software, which they clearly didn't. They just updated, and then it went for like, I guess, a week or so, right?
Well, I think
It was
that
out
that
there for a
change had been
while.
in there since like July, though. So something else must have kind of
Something must
changed
have
as
changed
well.
in their software, because I don't think anyone's, I don't think
Was
anyone
locking down
was
more.
ever responding to that query.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I
either
don't know how
they,
that.
I mean, I don't know when they last updated it, but I can't see it ever working unless like there was one particular node which always got chosen, and that was the one that just always happened to get used, and
That
maybe
could
they
be.
had it in there, but I think it's quite unlikely. It's a bit of a weird configuration to add.
Hmm.
We wouldn't.
Yeah, that was a strange one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have ever put that into configuration to add the porting. So
Yeah,
yeah,
That's
I'm
what
not sure how that didn't get caught in code review, because we are involved in the
Yeah.
code review process for things that we provide to the wallet, but
yeah.
certainly
So
there's going to be deploys that we can't control and we don't know anything about.
maybe that's part of it. Is like, okay, we will offer this beta testing service for your wallet. We'll do a run through and make sure that everything works well against our chain. And I'm pretty sure that would have been picked up, because, you know, you went into a meeting and it didn't work at all. And it probably was because of that issue. So, you know, I think basic testing would have caught that. And if we can make like a test suite or whatever, even if it's a manual test suite, and then just say, okay, here's the test we'll run through doing transfer, we'll run through domain registration, blah, blah, blah. And we have this tick box and we say, yeah, you're certified for FIO network usage, then I think that would help a lot.
Yep, I think a certification program is definitely what we need, and we have to improve. I would like to improve the communication with every one of our integrated partners to say, you know, when you're going to deploy, we need to know about it so we can run through certification on your new version and validate whether or not it works as it's supposed to, because we're not going to put it on our website. We're not going to promote it. And I'm certainly not going to go into meetings with, you know, with people if I don't know that it's solid. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the Infinito integration, and for whatever reason, it's broken right now. Their API, you know, they have a new release coming out today probably, but you know, the send to, it doesn't work at all. You know, the lookup, it says it's not a valid field address. I don't know what happened, because Eric tested that earlier and it worked fine. And they said there was some kind of API error. I don't know what that means. I don't know if they're connecting to one of you guys or some, I don't know. So improving that communication and having a certification process definitely be helpful. And I would say in the meantime, you know, unfortunately, you know, it lands on us as a team, you know, all of us, the block producers and everybody, to say, you know, what can we do to put the best experience in the hands of the people in these early days as we're working this stuff out.
I mean, it is very well, but understand that if we add more and more of these workarounds, eventually it builds up, and you end up with very bad smelling code.
Yeah, I agree, but this is still just the beginning, right? And we got to do whatever we can to keep our
I
clients on
understand.
board.
In this case, it probably is, but you know, I think we should make sure that we avoid this happening in the future. That we have to all scramble to kind of add these really ad hoc, clunky workarounds, because it's not fun for anyone. Yeah, to be like, it's not fun for Luke. Clearly, that day was a bad day. And it's not fun for us to be shouted at and be like, "Oh, your nodes are all broken." And
Felt like you're shouting at us, Luke. Actually,
yeah.
Sorry.
That's so mean.
No, seriously, guys, I appreciate that feedback. You know, like I said, I knew I was venting, and I appreciate you let me vent. But yeah, I was really frustrated. I was like, this is not where I thought we were. I thought we had an amazing monitoring place. I thought, you know, I know you guys to be incredibly technically excellent. So it was more frustrated going, this is not reality. Something's I don't understand. There's something, you know, not right here, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's our code, our SDKs, you know, what. And so anyway, I appreciate that feedback, Ross and Michael. Thank you. Definitely don't want to shout at you guys. You guys are amazing. You're awesome. And I sincerely appreciate the work you put in. And I completely agree. We do not want to make this a continual, you know, fire show of putting out fires. That's not at all what we're going for. And the way you do that is as Eric has brought to the team, you know, a level of professionalism where it's like, look, there are standards. You don't push things too quickly. You follow through processes and procedures, and that's how you avoid, you know, the surprises. So I appreciate that feedback, guys. Thank you.
Oh, and Luke was frustrated with the dev team too, so don't take that personally.
I guess I'm just mean. I'm just yelling at everybody. Huh?
Yeah. We did not know what was going on for a while, so yeah, appreciate the response.
All right, cool. Do we want to talk about, I think that was kind of the monitoring discussion. And I think, you know, we don't have a full answer there as far as the set of tools and suites that are ultimately going to be the FIO monitoring solution. But I personally feel very comfortable and confident that we've got stuff that Todd's put together. And I know there's other tools as well. So I think that's just probably going to be an ongoing conversation. And then as related to the next topic, I guess, would be the API discoverability, which kind of relates to what we were just discussing. Do you want to pull up, Eric, maybe, I know there's a couple different places of discussion about that. I think there's an issue ticket. I think there's a related FIP. There's a lot of different ways we can discuss it. I know there's the man in the middle attack discussion that have happened on Keybase and also in Telegram. It's all kind of related.
Yeah, I don't know. Pablo, do you want to lead that one? Give me a second. Are you there, Pablo?
Yeah, I'm here, sure. I mean, we have, so just to give everybody a little bit of a background on that issue. So this issue was actually identified very early on during the development of the protocol before it launched last year. And we kind of decided to address this post mainnet. And we had a working group that was focusing on that. We basically met a few times earlier this, probably, I don't know, a month, 2 ago, and put together that approach that is now defined in FIP, I think it's 14. Let me check. Yeah, in FIP 14. And you know, when we were talking in the smaller group, that was, you know, clearly a solution that we all felt comfortable with. And I think we then posted that to as a FIP. And I think there were some conversations going on, and there were some comments that we have been receiving. And I think there is still an open discussion on that. So I'd encourage everybody to really dive into the FIP 14 and provide feedback, either, you know, in the Keybase channel, or is it, yeah, I think it's in Keybase.
Yeah, I also just linked out to the
itself,
issue ticket.
Yeah, or in the issue itself. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think, I mean, there is some concern that this approach that we put together in FIP 14 is a little too complex. You know, that potentially there's an easier approach. There was a discussion that, you know, potentially we can use certificates instead. But there is still some open issues on how the certificates could work, who would issue them, and ultimately what happens if one of the BP nodes is compromised, and therefore their certificate is now signing responses that are potentially, you know, attacked. And so I still think that the approach defined in FIP 14 is kind of the strongest candidate right now, but obviously would love to get everybody's input on that. If you guys can review the FIP 14 and provide feedback, that would be awesome.
And it kind of relates to some other questions about discoverability. You know, we've got that EOS mainnet GitHub where, you know, we're kind of expecting wallets to kind of, and BPs and exchanges and everybody to kind of keep that really up to date and accurate. And so you have that, you've got the kind of reg producer call where you have a BP JSON, you know, website where the BP JSON is going to be pulled. And then you've got this other idea of like, well, let's just put this all on chain, you know, have the API discoverability be on chain, which is a great idea. I actually really like that, but it also reintroduces essentially the bootstrapper problem. Whereas if I kind of have all my URIs hard-coded into the wallet that I download, I don't have to trust where I get my APIs from, because if I get those from the chain, now I've created a bootstrapping problem. It's like, how do I know I'm talking to the right chain to even get the APIs to make sure that I'm, you know, on consensus? So So there's a lot of pieces that I think are all related to this FIP14 solution that we're trying to get, which is ultimately I need to trust that the data I get back in my wallet without running a full node is 100% trustworthy. And so they're all kind of related. And then in addition to that, as a wallet developer, I need to know which nodes I can trust and why. And if I bake those into my application, it does create a problem because you guys change stuff all the time. You want to move URLs around or URIs, or you want to, change your infrastructure, whatever that might be. And if those are hard baked into a wallet, worst case, a wallet that maybe isn't doing regular updates, that's a real problem. So I want to make sure we're thinking about this problem as much as possible in the lens of a service provider for the wallets. I'm a wallet developer, I'm building a wallet, and I need APIs, and I need a way to validate the data I'm getting, and I need to, think in terms of backward compatibility for long-term use.
Yeah, so I think the FIP14 was actually, that approach was to store API endpoints on chain. And obviously the assumption is that when the wallet is actually launching their integration, they obviously take, validate themselves what are the known block producers and their keys, right? And they basically provide that information or store that information, hardcore that into their wallet. So then in the future, you can cryptographically verify that any new API, node that was published on chain was actually signed by known block producers at the time, the software launch. So basically FIP14 says, okay, I'm launching my wallet. Here is the list of all known block producers. And then at any point in time in the future, the wallet basically just goes and refetches all of the potentially new block producers, verifies that that the schedule change was signed by the known block producers, and then looks for the API nodes on the chain and says, okay, now I can be cryptographically, certain that those are the real producers at that time, and they are publishing those API nodes. Therefore, I'm going to trust that.
Cool. Well, I think we've outlined that enough to kind of continue the discussion. Any other brief discussion we want to have here about that while we're on the call, or do you just want to continue that on the GitHub issues and potentially in the different chats we have?
Yeah, I think it will be good, Luke, to clarify kind of where those chats are occurring now that we have, Atlassian, we have some GitHub issues, where I had created a project out on GitHub that kind of shows what are the active discussions, but we may want to be moving that to the Atlassian. Is that maybe where we're tracking that? And Pablo might have input on that. So when you go through that, we can maybe clarify that.
Yeah, that is a good point. I think that is kind of the goal, but obviously we're in this transition phase, so it's sometimes hard to find those discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I guess jump into that next. I'll just walk through all the Confluent stuff, and then that will kind of open up ideas for discussion for the rest of the call. I think my understanding of the process right now as it relates to a specific FIP that has been designed is that we created an open GitHub issue ticket for that FIP, and we outline our thoughts in that issue comment. I think that's what we have going on right now. I think open discussion that's real time is really great also, but I'd really like to have something concrete that's really thought through and put, in a comment, because that way we can really analyze it. And that's the value of a FIP as well. It's like you really have something concrete to bounce ideas off of. As far as like real time conversation, the Keybase is fine with me. And then I know the EOS mainnet chat is a great place for that as well. I think the developer chat, FIO developer, we were trying to keep that with less noise so that we can use that as kind of a service portal for wallets and exchanges. Anyone who needs help integrating if I'm correct, Eric, I think there was one channel we were trying to keep low noise. Was that
the integration channel, but there's the developer channel's fine. That's open.
Okay, excellent. You're right. Yep. I knew something didn't feel right about that. So developer channel is where we'd have that conversation. The integrator channel, we'll keep that low noise so we can help serve our partners. That sounds great. All right, I guess I'll go ahead and share my screen if you want to give me access to that. Oh, looks like I have it. Great. And we'll start here. So I'll go ahead and start with kind of the Kanban board for, oh, wait, no. here's where I want to start. All right. So here we are. You guys hopefully are familiar with this. If you haven't checked it out yet, I encourage you to go ahead and create an account on Atlassian. And you can create a new account for this or use an existing one. And once you're logged in, and to create an account, you go over here on the top right. You can see my little face there. There's this little icon that looks like you're actually leaving the site. It's kind of a goofy icon, but that's what you click to log in and create an account. And right here, you have these projects. You may not have access to all of these. Actually, you won't probably have access to like integration sales and all that. But I want to show it to you just so you kind of get a feel for what's going on. And you can jump into these different projects, which is great. Another thing I want to encourage you to do on the Confluence side of things, you can switch over here to Confluence, is you can create your own kind of personal space. So you see under here, they have spaces. And I've created a space for myself, and it's where I'm going to create like a weekly task list of things that I'm working on, things I'm doing. I can have like meeting notes in here and things of that nature. You know, this is just something I'm exploring with, and I can even, you know, at someone and create a task for them as well within their system. And so I wanted to kind of highlight this in case you guys want to start using this as a productivity tool. We have a pretty advanced suite of tools for Atlassian that we get for free as a nonprofit. So this is a great place to kind of organize yourself. And you know, we've got, again, the calendar here that I want to make sure you guys were aware of. Actually, that's my personal calendar, but there's a calendar for the whole group that we've linked out to in the past that we can add. Actually, we should add these BB calls to that, Eric. That would be a good idea. But I want to highlight this. And if you wanted to, you can even like, you know, blog here or whatever, however you guys want to do it. But the idea would be at some point, we might want to create a space for the block producers potentially. The next piece as an example of a space would be this worker proposal space. So I want to highlight this for you guys, especially because we're hoping you can help spread the word about FIO to your communities in a way that helps others get involved, like actually adding value to FIO, whether that's through signing up to help with business development, signing up to help with development, programming, signing up to, you know, however they can think of to add value. So we've got these quick links here, and there's 3 major concepts that we're rolling with right now. And Pablo's done a really great job organizing all this. I really appreciate that. We've got this idea of an initiative saying, okay, I've got an idea that I want to kind of pitch to the FIO community. And this could be an idea ranging from marketing to, you know, development of the protocol. It might turn into a FIP to business development to, you know, anything you can imagine. You know, this kind of starts off as an initiative. Now, when the foundation has a concrete idea that it likes, it can take that initiative and create an opportunity. So for example, and then you can, you know, there's a whole bunch of more details here about the actual workflow on initiatives, kind of what the details are for each initiative, what a worker proposal is, and then also, you know, the details on that, and then also what an opportunity is. So I won't go through all of that stuff, but I'd encourage you guys to kind of take a look at that when you have some time to get a feel for what these 3 different major concepts are. And then you can see here the initiatives board. This is what I sent out. I think, actually it may not have been this one. I'm trying to remember if this is the same one I sent out earlier. There was another view that lets you look at, let me see here. Pablo, maybe I'm on the wrong filter, but there was a filter that lets you look at, is this the filter I need?
What are you looking for?
Oh, you had a nice filter that would let people kind of click for things that were kind of for mass adoption or not. Do you remember?
Oh, just click on the quick filters there.
Right
No,
here?
no, and just above the
Oh,
board.
here we go. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Excellent. Oh, it just got so big that it scrolled. Excellent. So this is like an example of we can create different filters. If you want to just look at the FIPS, for example, you can just check out the FIPS. We've had this tag idea of mass adoption. Actually, I got to clear those. So the idea being like, what could we do to really move the needle? Like, what could we implement that would really get people across the world excited about FIO? And I want to highlight how this is important specifically for the coming next release of tokens in December. You know, we have a lot of tokens that are on the same lock schedule. And we're gonna have a lot of tokens becoming liquid, you know, another 18.8% of those locked tokens becoming liquid in December. And we would like to have some really great, you know, news in December, right? To get people excited about it. So people are like, you know what, I got these liquid tokens now, but you know, maybe I'll hold on to them. Those are the type of things that are important that we are thinking through. You can filter for kind of only things that have been assigned to you or recently updated, however you guys want to do that. But I want to highlight this board here because I think this again is a great entry point, not only for you guys as block producers to be able to participate more if you want to, but also for others in the community. And this again this is not just like expectations of you directly as block producers, but this is an opportunity to potentially do more and actually have an active proposal. So when you go in here and you hit create, you know, if you're creating an idea, that's an initiative. If you're already very clear on what you want to do, you can create a proposal. And that includes, you know, the compensation that you're interested in, you know, what the compensation would be in, whether or not you want, you know, partially in one token, partially in another token, you know, what the frequency would be, your contact information, if you're linking to an existing opportunity that's out there, and then also the rest of the information, deliverables, qualifications, things like that. So we would love for you to be sharing this with your community and with your teams. Say, hey, you know, we think we can add value by doing something, and we think it could make the whole ecosystem more valuable. So that's kind of the overview of this worker proposal board and the process. Anything else you want to add, Pablo, or any questions you might have yet?
No, I think you got it. It's just basically, I think this board really, aside from worker proposal, the goal is to track everything that is happening with the protocol in here, right? Irrespective of kind of who's doing it, so that anybody can come in here and say, okay, well, these are the things that are currently in progress, so hopefully they're coming soon, or these are the things that were completed, or here's the roadmap of activities that is prioritized and things like that. So
Pavel, what do you think on how this links to, we have also the FIPS out on GitHub, right? And then the issues for FIPS out on GitHub. Are we just going to link to those from these, or, and then I have in my board actually all the FIPS as well, right?
Yeah. So this is obviously something for us to decide. My recommendation would be to basically start tracking all of the comments on any one of those initiatives in here, right? So anybody can open this initiative and you can start commenting, right? So any project we're working on, whether it ends up being a FIP or not, is going to have an initiative card here, right? And anybody is encouraged to open it, review it, and provide feedback, comments, whatever, right? So I would think that once we get this fully adopted, there would no longer be a need for a GitHub issue to track the comments, because you can basically all track them in here. Now, in terms of the FIP itself, I think we still want to have a FIP on GitHub to just kind of document and allow for kind of source control, so people can submit pull requests and things like that. So any one of those initiatives would have a link and saying, hey, here's the details, go here, and you can find it in the FIP and GitHub. Or maybe there is another page, like a lot of those initiatives already have a lot of details where it's like linking off to some either wiki page or something that says, here's all the details and charts and, you know, documentation on this. And then to answer your question as to the development board, so Eric is basically running a separate Kanban board that historically has been DAPIC's internal development board, but we now kind of moved it into being a public board that tracks all of the development, and anybody can see it. And that's basically always tracks down to an initiative, right? Because obviously somebody submitted an initiative, it was reviewed, it was approved, and maybe there was a worker proposal for it or an opportunity, and now somebody's doing development on that. So I envision that obviously, you know, DAPICs will be tracking all of the development on this development board, but in theory, anybody else could do the same thing. If they want to, they could set up a team and actually start using that project for kind of tracking their development as well. So. And also, I would see the initiative is linking to a FIP, and it's linking to, you know, an epic in the development board. So you can always kind of find the spec details and really kind of dive into, if you want to see, okay, where exactly is it? What are the stories? Who is working on it? You can see that on the development board.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm just actually kind of looking through this right now. I was going to show the development board after showing opportunities and proposals, but I'll just kind of show it now. One thing that we might want to use more heavily is this kind of link issue option here, so that, you know, you've got this FIP 11 within your specific team that you're running, Eric, but then you could link it into kind of whatever other conversation related to that FIP exists as an initiative, for example.
Yep.
That might be one approach.
Yep.
So
clean that up.
And then so then we've got, for example, opportunities. This is kind of coming from the foundation saying, hey, you know, this is work we'd like to get done. So if you know anyone that is familiar with the Ledger hardware, we'd like to kind of clone the EOS.io ledger app that's out there right now and get one specific to FIO. It's a little bit funky right now. If you ever used it, you can't actually look at who you're sending or the amount you're sending because it's a custom token transfer function. So we'd like to get that going. We'd also like to take Pavo's kind of example that he did for a FIO WordPress plugin for WooCommerce and get that cleaned up and actually as a fully available plugin.
Yeah, I'm exploring this this option because
Fantastic.
we already have finished this plugin for Wax, and it's actually, it has been finished for like 3 weeks, but we are struggling to publish on the WordPress store because there is a list of requirements about function names and whatever that it's not published anywhere. And every time we submit, we have this list. We understand that it's not published, but here you have to change the function names. So we're working on this. I have the team also working in other projects, so it's difficult to get it done. But I was actually just now asking because it should be done today or tomorrow, and then I remind the team if we can review how difficult it would be to make it done for FIO. So I'm planning to submit a worker proposal, but to be honest, I want to work on this first, maybe even have it done, and then I'll submit later.
I mean, whatever process you want to go through, I think that's fine. I think just to be clear though, the worker proposal process is going to be like, if you want some guarantee of sorts that you will actually get, compensated for time put in,
I'm not concerned about that. I want to get it done because we already have done it the last few weeks. So I think we are on track to do it. Just need
fantastic. Excellent. So if you want, like, that would be a great example, is you could even now create an initiative and link it, just like it's talked about here in the documentation about, opportunities down at the bottom here. It talks about, linking to an opportunity. So you can take your worker proposal, link it to opportunity, even if it's mostly blank right now. That might be a good thing to do, just so people know, like, oh, okay, we got somebody who's exploring possibly doing this, And it'd be okay, obviously, if 2 or 3 people do it. I'm not going to freak out about it for this particular one. But for larger projects, it would be not efficient to have like a bunch of people working on it. So as an example, you can create a worker proposal, even if it's not clear and you don't know what the compensation is, even just an empty shell of an issue at this point, and just link it, just so people know that that's going on. That would be great. And so speaking of worker proposals, that's kind of the next big thing I want to show here. It's very similar to the initiative board that we saw, but these are kind of like the active people that are doing work for the DAC. And this right here is kind of a mess still. It's been on my backlog of things to fix and clean up. We basically got a whole onslaught of people that were like, I want to be your community manager, or I want to do a thing in Bangladesh, or I want to, it was just an onslaught of people. When our Telegram increased by 12,000 people, there were a lot of people that wanted to participate. So I've got a lot here to go through. What we do have is we have an open proposal right now with James Haft, who's doing business development, Katie Zhu, who's doing marketing and business development. We've got about, and also Brad is doing some work with us. And then we've got about, and there's a team in Asia, and we've also got some representatives here for the community. There's about a half a dozen or so that are kind of helping with the Telegram community management. But I just want to let you know, kind of, there is a process that we're refining for how this works. So you have your kind of main worker proposal, and if it's monthly, and I'm explaining this to you guys again because I'm hoping you're going to share this with your community at some level for people who want to participate and get more involved. So as an example here, this is Katie's proposal. She linked out to a really great document here that I won't show now, but you can go check it out if you want. And then each month, we're basically going to create a subtask, which is kind of a payment request. And this subtask will be like a draft form in the beginning. So at the beginning of the month, we're going to create this draft. And then from that draft, that's where they'll go ahead and leave their comments and stuff. Like I showed you earlier, where I have my to-do list, that might be something where on my proposal, I would just link out to my weekly tracking of my own conversations and tasks and things that I accomplished. And then at the end of the period, when you're ready to get paid, then the owner of this would then shift it over to like, ready to get paid, ready for review. And then we would have the custodian board actually go through this, review it, and be able to kind of approve the payment, and the payment would happen. Now, this is kind of all, not on chain, obviously, yet. And where we are wanting to go in the future is to have this as much on chain as possible, similar to what EOS DAC has provided in the past. But I did want to kind of give you an overview of this and how the process works, and let you know we are continually working to improve this and clean it up a little bit. and eventually actually even have members of the DAPIX team move into this approach as well. You know, that's kind of, we're hoping for this kind of fully decentralized community where everything's transparent, everyone's clear on where the foundation is spending its money and what value it's getting for those expenditures. And, you know, and I want you all to be a part of that process as much as possible. Obviously, you're getting compensated by the chain directly in fees, but in addition, you know, your community and the people you're connected to who might want to be able to add value to FIO, you know, this would be great if they can get onboarded through this process and creating a proposal to add value there. In addition, we already kind of talked through the development board, so I won't go into that in more detail. But again, as Eric was saying, any group of people is free to create a team and set up their own boards and organize projects. So if you guys have a project that you want to come together on and start working on, you can use these tools for that. And then in addition, I want to kind of show the sales board. This you probably won't have access to. I think we do have a permissions that kind of limits who all has access to this, just because some of the comments might be a little, you know, a little bit on the private side as far as like we put emails and things like that, conversations going back and forth with wallets and exchanges and, you know, just integration potentials. But I wanted to let you know this is here. And if you do have a member of your team that is really excellent at business development and really wants to help out, and I know some of you would fit that category, definitely reach out to me because it may make sense to add that role for you and you can start helping out with some of these. With this prospects only says 58 right now, but we have another group that's actually, I think, not shown here, which is we're going to import all the contacts of all the companies that we've reserved domains for. So it's going to increase by, you know, probably another 1,000 or so. So that's all going to be in here, and we're going to basically be tracking everything. So every time someone says, hey, what about so-and-so? Have you talked to this company, that company? This is kind of our CRM of sorts where we're going to keep track of that. And then finally, I want to show here the integration board. This is where we kind of track, okay, they've already committed, they're integrating it. You know, what does that look like? And we're tracking kind of from pre-integration into integration to completed. This is kind of where the dev team is more heavily involved as far as like helping with that integration. I think I've gone way over the time I expected, but that was my that was my overview of what we got going on. I appreciate you guys all watching that out.
It's very organized. I'm impressed. Very, very organized.
Shout out to Pavo and the DAPIX team. They've done an amazing job organizing that.
Love it, guys.
Excellent. All right, so we got another 11 minutes, I guess, for open discussion. And if we don't have any, we can end the meeting early. That's cool too. But I want to make sure you guys have an opportunity. Again, I appreciate your feedback from earlier. Sorry for yelling at you. I'll try to be nicer in the future.
I may have dramatized how affected I was of you yelling at me.
You're strong, Ross. I know. But yeah, any other comments or thoughts or things that we want to bring to attention?
I guess I'm curious, just, and I'd mentioned it before, related to the monitoring and status of the nodes and all of that. You know, I mean, we've got a tool that we've been working on, but I know a lot of teams have a lot of great tools. I've seen, you know, several of them. You know, of course, first thing is we're all smashing everybody's nodes, collecting our own stats. That's one side of it. Or just the collaboration of all the tools into a centralized, you know, I mean, the whole point is to be able to provide, at least, you know, my idea is, all right, anybody that wants to use the chain, here's the information of what you should use. So if you've got 15 sites with all sorts of different metrics and whatever, I mean, it's great to have multiple tools, but yes, we're all kind of doing our own thing. Or you had mentioned, I mean, it's kind of from your comment about I don't know, quorum, collaboration, to try to, like, I don't know, maybe develop the FIO chain monitoring with all the different pieces and whatnot. I'm open for either. I mean, I see multiple tool sets being a great thing, and single, more centralized, I don't want to say official, but I don't know. What's everybody think about that?
Sounds good. You missed the first part. We actually spoke about you for a moment.
Oh, well, that's what I would say.
And it wasn't in the negative.
Oh, I was about to say, I don't know about that. I mean, I catch a lot of, my ears burn a lot, but yeah, sorry, I had another call, stupid side job, but anyway, so,
yeah, I mean, my problem with that is my tools are not very well generalized. I mean, I have like lots of these personal libraries and multi-chain libraries and shit. And
Ditto,
so,
ditto. It's not packageable very well, but
exactly right. Making it somehow packageable that such that other people could use it would be a pretty massive undertaking for me.
correct. Not so much from like us
Even
all.
though I have this Halo working now.
I know, right? So more, you know, I guess definitely we wouldn't, you know, all want to run the same system, or it'd be very difficult. We've all kind of got our own thing, but even just kind of collaborating and piggybacking together, I guess, is how, like, I know the Sentinel crew is big on the security and like the TLS and all of that. I mean, we're not specifically testing that. We can, but do we work together to where that information, you know, feeds out and we all, you know, can feed into a centralized, you know, here's this bit of stats, here's this one. I don't know. I'm just trying to, how would a collaboration of all of our tools really work like that, if it can?
Yeah, for me, I like looking at other people's tools just to get ideas to then wrap it into mine. It's not packages I can just integrate, but
yeah, I mean, different people think differently. So yeah, I mean, the individual development of each tool set is the greater good. I mean, yes, you've got multiple places. Maybe FIO has like a directory of here's the 10 different tools to help you figure out what the best node is. I don't know.
Yeah, we've got that FIO.tools that I think Brad from Currency Hub set up, and he is really willing to let anybody participate in updating that. So I don't think he doesn't feel like he needs to own that. So anyone else that wants to help keep that maintained, I think that's probably a great place for that type of stuff. I'm kind of open to both approaches. I think for me personally, you know, just for the as representing the foundation, I just need to make sure that I'm, you know, have a place I can go to and be up to speed. And so if I hear reports of, hey, you know, this experience is broken, there's something wrong, then I can know, okay, is it just that wallet did something silly, or do we have some nodes that have some issues? You know, shout out to Todd. He's done some great work in that regard. So I feel like much more confident that I have tools that I can work with. I think also, you know, it's really helpful. Like I was really happy to see, for example, the Gray Mass team, you know, they knew they had to renew SSL certificate. They planned to look into it, you know, in a couple of days, and it was supposed to be an automated process, and they just had to kickstart the web server. And it was just kind of neat to be like, oh, cool. Oh, thanks for that reminder. Your tool kind of made that easy. And we reached out to them and they were able to do that. So it's like, I love that our tools can even help the VPs as well. But I'm you know, I feel like you probably have tools that work for your own monitoring internally of your individual nodes, right? Your backup nodes, your API nodes, your producer nodes, your P2P nodes. But then I think there's also a need for kind of these larger, you know, network health monitoring tools. And I kind of feel like, you know, I'm open to all of them. Oh, great point. Casey just put in the chat there. We've got this BP tools in the repo, in FIO Protocol repo on GitHub. So if you do have anything that's even, maybe it's not super clean and packageable, but maybe you've got a script or something like that you think might be helpful to others, you know, feel free to throw it in there, you know, no shame.
Well, I think most of our tools, I know ours is, and it sounds like John's as well, you know, it's almost, and like ours is a big framework of probes all around the world that are tapping in, trying to get the holistic. So, you know, it's more, it sounds like, you know, a service that will be provided. And yeah, just separate initiatives. I mean, like I say, I'm down for either or, but whenever you had mentioned that comment, I'm like, oh, I mean, I'm down. I work with all of these guys all over the time anyway, so why not? But I struggled, same type of thing, is that, man, I mean, how do we even, do you delegate, you know, okay, well, you check this, me check this, or do we all just kind of do our own thing? Anyway,
so the concept of the FIP14 is that it is FIP14, right? We're going to publish all of that API information on chain, but it needs to go through a degree of validation for the wallets to be able to, for us to be certain that the wallets are getting the right kind of information. So maybe we end up having some kind of little group within us that we use our various tools in order to agree, okay, that looks good, and we're going to publish that. You know, and I know it's not perfectly real time, I guess.
Well, and that's the question is, are we kind of looking for an on-chain, which of course we always ran around about.
That's FIP14.
If you need an endpoint to get the data off a chain, you're kind of cart before the horse. What's the best API
we
node?
discussed that. We discussed that a little bit earlier on the call, Michael. So if you go back and watch the recording,
Oh,
I catch up on that. Yeah.
All right, sorry to read.
No, no worries, no worries. Yeah, I got to jump off, head over to the board meeting. I also want to mention it's kind of related to this. Rob has given me kind of a pre-proposal a little bit because I know that him and a bunch of others, some on the call here as well, I'm sure, have worked on the kind of WAX Officer of Inspector General concept, and they're kind of massaging that a bit to have it fit in some way for FIO, so that the foundation has a way to kind of say, okay, here's our block producers, here's the reporting we're doing on those. And I think the on-chain metrics and reporting and data analysis of the service they're providing, which is ultimately, the API for these wallets and exchanges and payment gateways and whatever comes in the future, that'll be part of that process where we're kind of be able to say, okay, this is the number one thing that we care about is, high performance, reliability, security, all these type of things. So, that's another kind of thing that I'm working on that we'll get moving forward. And I imagine as we clarify what monitoring tools we use and how that relates to kind of how the foundation talks about its block producer community and the reliability for the partners to use them, those will all kind of be entwined and go together. All right, excellent. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Again, any other topics for conversation, we can always keep the conversations going in Telegram. I really appreciate you all. Again, I hope these meetings are useful. I don't feel like there's much point in having a meeting just to have a meeting, but I do feel like they're useful to kind of make sure we're all on the same page, and give everyone an opportunity to discuss what's going on with the protocol, any concerns or anything like that. So thank you all for showing up.
Just a quickie thing, Luke, to let everyone know, since I know a lot of people here know me. I've taken over the day-to-day management of EOS Philippines, and I've been helping them for quite a while, along with a few other VPs, but I'm focused on them as my primary thing now.
Excellent. Thanks for that update, John.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that too, because we all know that if we're not super clear about that, and we've talked about service provider BPs in the past and stuff, it can essentially get a little wonky. If you have multiple people managing or working with multiple nodes, you kind of, kill the point of decentralization. So I super appreciate that.
Exactly. So exactly. That's why I wanted to make it totally clear. So, votes for EOS Philippines.
There it is. There's the show. Now, related to that, I know
that's something I have never said before to anyone.
I love it. I love it. No, it's actually, I do want to help the foundation. I do want to help get education to token holders about voting. And also, I know that's a really important part of this protocol and you guys getting paid. And I would like to have proxies rotating in as well. So we're going to make that a focus, but I got to jump to another meeting now. Appreciate you guys.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
Is that us? We out here. Cheers, everyone. Take care.
Yeah, see you guys.
See ya.
Bye-bye.